The year is 1898. Carl Jung, a young medical student, is studying in his room when a terrifying sound, similar to a pistol shot, erupts from the next room. When he rushes in, he sees that a solid oak table, a family heirloom, has split from end to end despite no external force. A few days later, a steel bread knife shatters into pieces, again for no apparent reason. These irrational events tore a massive hole in Jung's mind. At that moment, he realized that the laws of the physical world were not enough to explain the mysteries of the soul. This turning point caused Jung to set aside his dreams of becoming a surgeon and turn toward psychiatry, which was considered the darkest corner of medicine at the time. He would later name these phenomena synchronicity, the coincidence of inner and outer events that have no causal relationship, causality, but are linked by a bond of meaning. Jung did not develop this idea alone. Albert Einstein, who was a frequent dinner guest in Zurich between 1909 and 1913, was the person who sowed the seeds of this idea, according to Jung. Their conversations regarding Einstein's theory of relativity led Jung to reflect on the psychic relativity of time and space. If physical laws were not absolute, but rather statistical truths, could there be a different principle operating in the world of meaning? Jung classifies synchronicity into 3 different categories. First, immediate coincidence. This is when something you are thinking about happens in the outer world at that exact moment. Jung's famous golden scarab case is the prime example. While a patient was describing a dream of a golden scarab, a gold-green beetle tapped on the window at that very second. This is where the rational mind ends. Second, spatial distance. This is the feeling of an event occurring far away without any physical connection. One night, while in a hotel, Jung woke up with a sudden, profound sense of unease. He felt a sharp pain in the back of his head, at the nape of his neck. At that moment, though he did not know his patient in a distant city had shot himself with a pistol, he physically experienced the psychic reflection of that pain. A report arriving a few hours later confirmed that the patient had committed suicide at that exact minute. The bullet had lodged exactly where Jung had felt the pain. Third, temporal distance. This is when an event that has not yet occurred appears in a dream and later happens in reality. In the autumn of 1913, Carl Jung had a staggering vision during a journey he took alone. He saw a massive flood covering all the lowlands between the North Sea and the Alps. The waves were carrying the floating debris of civilization and the drowned bodies of thousands of people. Then the entire sea turned to blood. Jung saw this dream again 2 weeks later. At first, he thought it was his own internal fragmentation. However, a year later, when World War I broke out, he realized the meaning of the dream. Jung personally recorded the following examples while explaining synchronicity: the plum pudding and Monsieur de Forgibou. A young Mr. Deschamps is given a piece of plum pudding as a child. 10 years later, in a restaurant, he craves the same pudding again, but the waiter tells him the last portion was given to someone else. That person is Monsieur de Forgibou, who first gave him the pudding. Years later, at a party where plum pudding is being served, Deschamps says, "I wish Monsieur de Forgibou were here." At that instant, the door opens and an elderly, disoriented Monsieur de Forgibou enters. The return of the lost photograph. A mother takes a photograph of her son in 1914. However, war breaks out, and she loses the film before she can develop it. 2 years later, in Frankfurt, she buys a film for her newborn daughter. When the film is developed, the mother is shocked. Underneath the photograph of her daughter is the image of her son taken in 1914. The old film had re-entered the market as if it were an unused film. The Birds of Death. A patient's wife describes how a large flock of birds gathered at the windows when her mother and grandmother died. Years later, when her husband suffers a heart ailment, a massive flock of birds swarms the house even before the husband passes away. Are these events merely statistical deviations? Or is it the universe's way of speaking to us? Jung's theory gained a scientific foundation when he met the Nobel Prize-winning quantum physicist Wolfgang Pauli. Pauli had turned to Jung due to his dreams and psychological crises, but this duo eventually embarked on the most interesting collaboration in modern science. According to Pauli, physics and psychology were actually two sides of the same coin. They proposed that there are four fundamental pillars of the universe: space, time, causality, and synchronicity. Synchronicity steps in where causality ends, at the moments when time and space contract psychically. At these moments, an image in our unconscious manifests as a physical reality in the outer world. While attempting to formulate this concept in the Western world, Jung realized that this phenomenon had been known in Chinese philosophy for thousands of years. The Chinese called it Tao, meaning. Jung studied the ancient book of divination, the I Ching, the Book of Changes. This system was based on the assumption that the falling of coins meaningfully coincided with your psychic state at that moment. For Jung, the I Ching was the art of placing random events into a meaningful whole. Here, how the coins fall, causality is not important. What matters is what that moment of falling tells you about your inner reality, meaning. So, how does synchronicity occur? According to Jung, the responsible parties are the archetypes. Archetypes are not just in our minds, they are psychoid, soul-like structures that can leave traces in the material world. When we experience a powerful emotion, such as fear, love, or death, this state triggers an archetype in the unconscious. At that moment, we transcend the boundaries of our mind and access what Jung calls absolute knowledge, a source of information beyond time and space. In this source, past, present, and future are one. Space and time lose their significance. In conclusion, synchronicity tells us that the universe is not a soulless machine. We are not independent observers separate from the outer world. Our soul is in constant communication with the world of matter through a bridge of meaning. As in Jung's famous Golden Scarab story, sometimes where our logic ends, the universe taps on our window with a small click. When you hear that sound, will you ignore it as just a coincidence, or will you have the courage to open that letter? Remember, true healing does not lie in being perfect, but in being included in the meaningful wholeness of the universe. Subscribe to Shadow Atlas and continue to explore the hidden maps of the subconscious and the universe with us.